Only golden fingers could play so heavy. By Roger D. Linder. Chapter 7, December 3rd, 1953. I is born. Juliet had no problem falling asleep after the baby's birth. As happy as she was that all went well, she could not overcome the fatigue and fell asleep before they wheeled her into her room. She only stirred a moment when they put her into the bed. Dr. Orson met Henry at the waiting room. Henry was pacing, wondering when he would hear anything. "Congratulations, you have a bouncing baby boy." "Thank you, Doctor. I couldn't have done it by myself." "That's true. Without your wife, you probably wouldn't have had much luck," the doctor joked. "How is she?" Henry asked. "Just fine. She's sleeping right now. Would you like to see the baby?" the doctor offered. "Sure." "Could you tell me how old he was when he was born?" Henry seemed confused. "It's hard to say," the doctor played along. "We'd have to take x-rays and study his dental charts first. A lot of trouble." "Well, it really doesn't matter," Henry continued. "Let's see him." "All right. But I must warn you, he probably won't recognize you at first. In fact, he may even be frightened. It's something like a kid first seeing Santa Claus. Ho, ho, ho," the doctor jested. "You don't think he'll reject his father, do you?" Henry asked, concerned. "No. With luck, he'll be asleep. Maybe your wife is awake now. I'll bring the baby to the room." Henry was directed to Juliet's room, and when he saw her, he gently placed a kiss on her forehead. "Hello, dear. How are you feeling?" he tenderly asked. Juliet woke up, but was puzzled by her surroundings. "Just a minute. Give me time. I'll get it yet. Oh, that's right. Hi, honey. I thought I'd seen you before." Henry let it slide. He knew Juliet had had a tough time. "The good doctor is going to bring the baby in here." "Baby?" Juliet was still confused. She paused. "Oh, that's right." Just then the doctor entered. "You may find your wife a little incomprehensible. She was given a pill to help her sleep." Henry replied, "I haven't noticed anything. She just woke up." Juliet interrupted. "I had a dream while I was sleeping." Henry quipped, "That's usually when they happen." "What was it about?" Dr. Orson asked. "Well, there we were, the baby and I." "But he wasn't a baby. He was a man, and he was singing." "Singing? He can't even talk yet," Henry observed bemusedly. "Don't be too sure," Juliet responded mysteriously. "What was he singing?" the doctor asked. "I don't know." She strained to remember, but there were a lot of people there. They all seemed happy, and a strange smell in the air. "How can you smell in a dream?" Henry asked. "Well, it looked like it smelled funny," Juliet replied. "But he wasn't happy," she continued, "and he was asking for me to take a big load off of him." "That was some dream," exclaimed the doctor. Henry, remembering that he still hadn't seen his new son, asked, "By the way, where's the baby?" The doctor, distracted and confused by Juliet's dream, replied, "Baby? Oh, that's right. Let's see now, where is he?" Dr. Orson left the room mumbling, and Henry and Juliet stared after him. Henry returned his attention to Juliet. "I guess the hardest part is over. We'll be going home in 2 or 3 days." Juliet replied, "It was worth it. What should we name him?" Henry offered, "I want to name him I." "Where did you come across a name like that?" Juliet asked, puzzled. "It's in the dictionary, 9th letter of the alphabet," Henry declared. "But why would we choose it as a name?" Juliet prodded. "I like the sound of it. A nice ring to it, don't you think? Henry insisted. Pondered Juliet. It's also the Roman numeral 1. Fitting for our first and only child. Only? Henry queried, surprised. You don't expect me to go through that again, do you? Juliet replied, somewhat indignantly. Well, I'm sure it wasn't that bad, Henry meekly offered. You really have no idea, Juliet responded resignedly. Well, I certainly hope the doctor finds the baby. Henry, confused at the sudden change of topic, replied, Baby? He recovered his senses and agreed. Where is the baby? I'm going to go check on him. Henry left Juliet, and she continued to ponder the morning's events and the eerie topics explored in her dream. What did it all mean? Why did she see her new baby as a man? And how did she know it was him? What harm would come to him? As she thought about these things, the doctor arrived carrying little I. Here you go, Mrs. Maule, all cleaned up and shiny, as the doctor handed over the baby. She tenderly cradled him, looking at his tiny face, again wondering where life would take him. Oh, Mrs. Maule, the doctor interrupted her reverie. There's a television news crew in the hospital looking for some cute stories to air around Christmas time. I think they'd like to see a newborn baby. Would you like to see them? Oh, I'm so tired. I'm just not sure. They wouldn't take too much time, just a few camera shots and a short interview. Well, all right, if it's quick. The doctor left her alone to find the TV crew, and Juliet was getting a bit annoyed that Henry had not returned. When the doctor came back, Judith Avery, the California correspondent for IBC News, accompanied him. Good afternoon, Mrs. Maule, greeted Judith. I'm Judith Avery from IBC News. We're doing a few stories for some upcoming Christmas shows. Yes, the doctor told me about it. What do you want me to do? We'd like to get some film of your baby, you and your husband, and talk a bit about what it's like to raise a family in the world today. My husband is away at the moment, but feel free to film us now before the baby wakes up. I'm afraid he'll start to cry and spoil the interview. Oh, that's all right, ma'am. A crying baby is the least of our problems when we do the news. People understand that babies cry. The cameraman started filming as Judith began asking a few questions. We'll have to get started as I'm on a deadline. Perhaps your husband will be joining us soon? He's been gone a while, Juliet stated, concerned. He should have already been here. He hasn't seen his son. Looking at her watch, Judith decided to begin the interview. Your son is born at yet another turning point in America. Our new president is about to finish his first year in office. The war is not 10 years gone, and now we are sending soldiers to fight again in a foreign country. Communists are being found all over our own country. We live in constant fear of the bomb. How can a baby coming into this world survive? There are some pretty negative thoughts for a Christmas story, Juliet mused. Can we talk about something a little lighter? You're right, of course, Judith apologized. I guess it's the reporter in me trying to get to the facts. Let's start again. I'm told that your baby's name is I. That's quite unusual. Why? It was my husband's idea, but I quickly came to accept it. I like to think of I as my number one. Or perhaps it could represent I for important. I had a dream that he was going to be an important figure, Juliet explained. But don't you think a name like that will cause him to seek out his own importance, trying to live up to it? Judith asked. My son is destined for importance, Judith insisted. I can feel it with every part of my body. How do you... Judith was interrupted as I awoke and began to cry. Juliet tried to comfort him, and his crying subsided. He began to babble when, clearly audible, the words rock and roll came from his mouth. Both Juliet and Judith gasped. "Kevin," exclaimed Juliet to the cameraman, "please tell me you got that on film." Kevin nodded and continued filming, but I fell silent, then fell asleep again. The excitement in the room began to grow, and the doctor suggested, "Let me take your son back to the nursery. All this noise will not be good for him." The doctor picked up I and exited the room. Judith turned again to Juliet. "Those were words. I could have sworn that's what I heard. But this baby is not even a day old. How is that possible?" "I told you he is destined for importance," Juliet replied. "He is my special boy." Judith asked a few more questions, but had a hard time concentrating. "I've really got to get this back to the studio. This is something that could even go on the national news." As the news crew began gathering up their equipment, Dr. Orson returned. "I've just left your son back in the nursery. He was laughing and cooing. I suppose he might even be telling jokes to some of the other little ones," he chuckled. "Is your husband still gone?" he continued. "He mumbled something and took off just before the TV crew arrived. Probably went to the coffee shop downstairs. I'm a bit concerned, though." "Well, I'm really decided that I was here to witness it. You must be very proud of your new son," the doctor declared. "Indeed I am. His father will be sorry he missed it. When can I see the baby again?" "I'll bring him back if you like," he said as he left. A few moments later, Henry returned. "Where have you been?" asked Juliet edgily. "You missed the big moment." "I know I couldn't be there," Henry replied defensively. "I had to stay in the waiting room." "Not that big moment. IBC was here," Juliet exclaimed. "IBC? Something wrong?" Henry asked, concerned. "Better you see for yourself. It's almost 6 o'clock. Turn on the news," Juliet suggested. Henry looked around the room. "Where's the boy? I still haven't seen him yet." "The doctor is bringing him back from the nursery." "Oh, here he is now." Dr. Orson entered, holding I, and Henry called out, "Hi there, Tiger." "Please, Mr. Maul. Only my wife calls me that," the doctor jested. Juliet interrupted the joking. "We've just turned on the news." "Mind if I stay and watch?" the doctor inquired. "Please do," although Henry was confused a bit by the doctor's curiosity. "What's going to be on?" "Just watch and see," said Juliet excitedly. The familiar IBC logo appeared on the screen, and Hardy Rochester appeared in shadow. The announcer began. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 6 o'clock edition of the IBC News with Hardy Rochester, brought to you each evening by Fender Guitars. With a Fender, you'll never bend your ears." Henry's always pined a little when he heard that introduction. He still hadn't gotten over his yearning for the Fender bass guitar. In his reverie, he didn't notice that Hardy had announced a special event that was taking place in California. The film being shown was of the very hospital they were in. "Henry, pay attention," Juliet prodded as she noticed Henry's inattention. Henry returned his attention to the screen as the story revealed local reporter Judith Avery, along with Juliet and I. "We're here today with Juliet Maul and her newborn son, I. We've just witnessed something that is simply miraculous. I know that I'd never seen anything like it before. This little wonder boy has already spoken his first words." The broadcast cut over to a close-up of I as he uttered rock and roll. And the stunned silence was quickly replaced by gasps and excited murmurings. "You've clearly heard the baby's own first words. And only hours old," as Judith returned. "This is Judith Avery reporting from California." "Thank you, Judith," as the broadcast returned to Hardy Rochester, also barely able to contain his own excitement. "That's December 3rd. Good night." They turned off the TV and Henry stood there, stunned, for a few moments, trying to understand what he'd just seen. "No, I won't believe it. A 3-hour-old baby just doesn't talk," he exclaimed. "Well, this one does. Both the doctor and myself distinctly heard something. She looked at the baby tenderly. He must surely be something special. If you hadn't been out of the room, you would have heard it too, Juliet chided. I couldn't help that I had to go to the men's room. When nature calls, don't ignore it, I always say, Henry defended himself. You always say a lot of things. Why don't you try thinking once in a while, Juliet joked. Henry ignored her comment and turned to the doctor. Maybe the kid is special, but that doesn't mean he can talk. What's your opinion, Doctor? Dr. Orson reflected. If I hadn't witnessed it myself, I'd say it sounds like what I've read in my studies. Just baby talk. Juliet jumped in. That was not baby talk. I think he was trying to tell us something. A mother's intuition tells me he's already chosen his direction in life. Henry glared at her. Hold it, hold it. You mean to tell me you got all that out of 3 words? Not just 3 words. The manner in which they were spoken suggested, Juliet began. We haven't even agreed that he can talk, and he's already given a speech. Next you'll be telling me he's running for president, Henry blurted out. Don't be silly. I wouldn't go that far. I'm just saying that he seemed to know what he was talking about. Juliet tried to bring some reason to the conversation. Henry was puzzled. But rock and roll doesn't have much meaning as I see it. That's just it, continued Juliet. It's definitely a new concept. If you could imagine all of the notions turning around in this child's head. She paused a moment, turning a tender gaze back to I. It must have meaning to him. Henry turned to the doctor. I think she's going delirious. Maybe a sedative, he prescribed? No, I don't think so. I've read cases like this in my medical journals. A woman, having been one with a child for some 9 months, can sense the thoughts of the infant, and when he is born, she acts as spokesman. Naturally, the 3 words spoken, whether or not by accident, must have some deep psychological meaning, the doctor lectured. Henry observed, that's all fine and good, but what does he mean by rock and roll? The doctor replied, I have a feeling it's got something to do with gem tumbling. I've read in lapidary magazines. Juliet was frustrated with the direction the conversation was taking. You've both got rocks in your heads. That's a new term for the kind of music they're starting to play lately. You know, the songs with the bouncy beat. Juliet had noticed that music was changing as she listened to her radio while waiting for this big day. As she reflected internally, she felt that change just might be centered on little I, though she wasn't sure how. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., chapters 8 through 11. Good day.